After 30 days of searching, Billionaire discovers incredible truth behind poor girl's wallet theft. Jake Caldwell, a self-made billionaire, strolled through Millennium Park, the vibrant heart of Chicago, that morning, soaking in the sunshine as it danced off the towering skyscrapers. His life seemed perfect. But just as easily as he had reached the top, the universe took a swift turn. In a fleeting second of distraction, his wallet vanished from his pocket, snatched away by a desperate hand clutching a future filled with uncertainty. Suddenly, an invisible thread began to weave the lives of two very different people together, a thread that would stretch, strain, and ultimately challenge everything they believed about justice and success. On the other side of the city, Emily Jackson was fighting against the tide. Working 2 minimum-wage jobs and raising her spirited daughter, Mia, she lived each day teetering on the brink of despair. When the eviction notice landed on her doormat, it was like a punch to the gut. Finding Jake's wallet, its weight promising a reprieve, felt like grasping a lifeline. She didn't think of it as stealing. It was survival. In the days that followed, Jake was relentless. Every lead, every corner he turned, launched him deeper into the unexpected struggles of a world that felt foreign to him. The chase consumed him. He met threadbare families in apartment buildings with peeling paint. Each encounter left him breathless, a knot tightening in his chest each time he saw the fear masked as ordinary life. Questions bloomed in his mind. How could he have missed this? How could he have built his empire while ignoring the plight of those around him? Facing the truth of Emily's sacrifices started to chip away at Jake's understanding of success. For every business deal he celebrated, there were families like hers struggling to make ends meet, a stark contrast that rattled his core. He could almost hear the voices of the community, their frustrations and hopes echoing through the city streets. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A fateful encounter brought Jake face to face with Emily. They sat in a cramped coffee shop, surrounded by the hum of life bustling just outside, each recognizing a flicker of understanding in the other's eyes. Despite their differences, both shared burdens, doubts curling through their minds. Conversations turned into confessions, memories shared like hand-me-downs. The barriers between them began to dissolve. As they navigated their connection, a new crisis emerged. A local food pantry, the very lifeline for families like Emily's, was threatened with closure. Emily became a warrior, rallying her community with the fierceness of a lioness protecting her cub. Jake, inspired and transformed, stood at the edge, an awakening stirring within him. Would he allow this moment to pass? Or would he step forward and prove that redemption was possible if only one chose to act? The stakes had risen, and the city around them held its breath, waiting for the resolution that seemed as distant as the horizon. Would Jake reconcile his past with the empathy emerging from the depths of his changing heart? And in that question lingered the promise of hope and connection, the very essence of what it meant to be truly human. Emily stood at the center of the bustling community center, breathing in the mix of hope and anxiety swirling around her like the scattering autumn leaves outside. Shelves previously stocked with food were looking bare, a sign of an urgent plea for help. The closing of the pantry felt like a heavy stone in her stomach, and as the community gathered, she fought against the tide of despair. Today was about more than survival. It was about giving this neighborhood a fighting chance. Together, we can save this place, she declared, her voice firm, slicing through the murmurs of doubt. Faces turned toward her, a mix of exhaustion and determination lit in their eyes. She saw Mia in the front row, perched hopefully on a chair, her little fingers gripping the edges. Emily's resolve at that moment was driven not just by the pantry's fate but by the love for her daughter. They deserved more, and she wouldn't let fear win. Meanwhile, Jake watched from a distance, blending into the shadows cast by the vibrant crowd. He had never been a part of something so alive yet so fragile. His heart pounded as he considered the ramifications of this moment. He stepped forward, squaring his shoulders. The urgency to act had never felt more real. "Emily!" he called, his voice straining to rise above the murmurs. She turned, momentarily startled, her eyes wide with surprise. "I can help." The crowd stilled. Shock rippled through the room, eyebrows raised, whispers exchanged. Emily's heart raced. "You?" she asked, unsure if hope had slipped into cheeky sarcasm. "Yes, me," he affirmed. "I want to raise awareness. We can host an event, rally support to save the pantry." She searched his face for sincerity, finding it intertwined with a hint of vulnerability. The billionaire stood there now not as a polished figure of power, but as a man shedding the cocoon of privilege, ready to carry the weight of community struggles alongside his newfound friend. An elderly woman stepped forward, her voice cracking. "And how will you help? It's not just money we need. It's attention, dedication, action." A ripple of agreement spread through the crowd. Jake's stomach churned. He knew his money could only go so far. But he had something more: a network, resources, and a voice that could amplify the community's needs. "I can leverage my connections," Jake said, gaining momentum as Emily watched closely. "I can help bring media attention to this situation. We can create a fundraiser, and I'll match every dollar donated." Her heart fluttered with a mix of trust and suspicion. Could she trust him? Would his arrival turn this moment into genuine support or another hollow promise? Just then, a murmur sparked through the crowd as people began to rally around them. Encouragement filled the air, hesitant at first but quickly growing strong. They grasped each other's hands, a connection forged through a shared mission. A pact of sorts. "What about those who will still need food next month?" "We can't fix this overnight," Emily suggested, her mind spinning. "We want to just fix it. We'll create a new way to support one another," Jake replied, conviction radiating from him. For the first time, he felt the weight of responsibility beside the thrill of action. It was exhilarating. They stood together, facing the challenge ahead, their lives intertwined now in a dance of vulnerability and hope, each step promising a deeper understanding of one another. Just then, Mia tugged at Emily's sleeve, her small voice breaking through. "Mommy, do you think we can really save it?" Emily knelt to her level, searching for the right words. "With a strong heart and the right people, we always can." But underneath her calm smile, doubt lingered. This was just the beginning, and Jake's determination had the power to shift everything, or it could crumble like a fragile house of cards. As they stepped outside, feeling the brisk air against their faces, they were ready to face the challenges together, knowing the journey to change would test them against unseen forces. The fight was far from over, and as they began gathering plans and support, a question echoed in Jake's mind: could this fragile partnership withstand the weight of the truth lurking beneath the surface of their lives? And just as that thought settled, he felt a prickling sensation. Someone was watching, lurking just outside the light of their hope. Emily took a deep breath, the cool air filling her lungs like a promise. The gathering on the lawn of the community center was buzzing with excitement, laughter weaving through the conversations. There was hope here, a tangible force that surged as people collaborated on flyers, brainstorming possibilities for their fundraiser. She could see Jake, caught up in animated discussions with others, the strength of his presence growing as he learned from them. With each idea shared, the energy shifted. He smiled genuinely, warmth replacing the shadow he had brought into the room. For once, maybe he was looking past himself. But her heart tightened as she watched Mia play with a group of children nearby. The innocent laughter faded into the background, replaced by a nagging worry that weighed her down. Despite the enthusiasm surrounding the fundraiser, uncertainty gnawed at her. Could they really rally enough support? They would need more than hope, they would need tangible results. Suddenly, a voice pierced her thoughts. "Emily! Come here!" It was Jake, waving her over with an excitement she couldn't quite understand. "What is it?" she asked, her brow furrowing. "I just had an idea," he said, eyes gleaming. "What if we made this a community festival? Food, music, games that'll draw people in, and we can charge a small entrance fee. All funds would go directly to the pantry. His enthusiasm was almost contagious, but Emily felt tethered to reality. And where will the food and entertainment come from? We can't ask everyone to dip into their pockets for something that might not succeed. Jake's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, but then he straightened. I'll handle that. I can reach out to local businesses for donations. We'll showcase their contributions. It'll be a win-win situation, exposure for them and support for the pantry. Everyone loves a good festival. She could see the gears turning in his mind, a rush of energy propelling him forward. Yet, it felt overwhelming. Jake, what if it doesn't work? What if they don't show? What if we fail? He stepped closer, enough to feel the warmth of his presence against the chill of the day. Emily, if we don't try, we've already failed. But if we do this together, with the whole community, we can change everything. Just think, we can rally everyone, and Mia, she deserves to see hope in action. Her heart raced at the thought of Mia and the uncertainty that gloomed over the future. Would it be enough? I'll do whatever it takes, Jake continued, conviction dancing in his voice. I promise I won't let you down. But just as Emily nodded, a distant shout disrupted their moment. Hey! We've got a problem. The crowd turned, shocked whispers turning into anxious murmurs. A young man, red-faced and frantic, approached. The food truck, someone just stole it. All the supplies for the festival. A wave of panic swept like a cold gust through the crowd. Gasps filled the air, shaking the fragile optimism they had built. Emily's mind raced as thoughts collided. Was this a cruel trick? Would this setback unravel everything before they even started? What do we do? Emily cried, facing Jake. They had just begun to dream together, and now it felt like the ground was shifting beneath them. Before he could answer, another tremor of fear spread through the crowd. They needed a leader, someone to restore their faith. And Emily felt that weight heavy on her shoulders. Let us regroup, she called, trying to pull her voice above the rising tide of confusion. Together, we can figure this out. We can't let one setback destroy our plans. But as she spoke, something caught her eye. Out of the corner, a figure lingered, still watching. The chill in her spine returned. Who were they? And what did they want? In that moment, she knew their fears were only beginning to surface. With a community rallying behind them, the fight didn't just hold the promise of success, it also held the threat of penetrating danger. As their collective tension built, Emily wondered if they would even make it to the festival. Would they be able to combat the forces working against them? And the question lingered, could she protect this fragile hope birthed from tragedy? The crowd shifted uneasily, unable to shake the feeling of impending doom. Emily's heart pounded as the frantic murmurs grew louder, a cacophony of panic that sent a shiver down her spine. She felt the weight of every anxious gaze, every whispered fear that echoed in the open space. With a deep breath, she steeled herself, determined not to buckle under pressure. Okay, listen up. Emily raised her voice, trying to touch the silent hopes buried beneath the fear. I know this sounds like a huge setback, but we've got a choice here. We can either wallow in despair or we can fight back. She scanned their faces, looking for a spark, a glimmer of resolve. A teenager stepped forward, hands shoved in his pockets, uncertainty written all over his face. But what can we do? We need that food truck to get started. Yes, we need it, Jake chimed in, rallying support. But we aren't without options. We can reach out to local restaurants. We can pool resources. We have a community full of people willing to help. Emily caught Jake's eye, his enthusiasm sparking something in her. Exactly. Let us divide up the tasks. We need volunteers to call businesses, set up a backup food plan, and maybe even find another truck. We can do this together, every hand counts. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Emily felt a surge of hope. The panic that had gripped her started loosening its hold. Then she recalled the figure she had spotted in the distance, still lurking. Her eyes darted to where they had been standing, but the figure was gone. Let us meet back here in 30 minutes. She encouraged, her heart racing as she noticed a mix of determination and uncertainty in their faces. Let us use this time to mobilize. As groups began breaking off, Emily felt a surge of adrenaline. Together, they could achieve something monumental. She caught a glimpse of Mia, playing nearby, blissfully unaware of the chaos unfolding. Emily's heart tightened again. This was for Mia. Jake's warm presence was beside her, sincerity in his voice. What do you need me to do? Can you handle the calls? Talk to the businesses and see if they're willing to step up. Of course. I'll take care of it, he replied, but his eyes searched hers, as if trying to glean more than just her instructions. Emily, are you okay? His concern washed over her like a soft wave, grounding her in a tumultuous time. I will be. We just have to make this work. As he walked away to start on the calls, Emily took a moment to breathe, her mind swirling with fear and determination. She turned back toward the gathering crowd, the whispering current of worry still wrapping around them, but something shifted in the air. A woman approached her, a familiar face from the community. Emily! I heard about the food truck. I can contribute some dishes from my catering business. It's not much, but every little bit counts, right? Yes. That's amazing. Emily exclaimed, her spirits lifting. The words hung in the air, glimmering with hope. With each kind act, the web of support grew stronger. As the excitement sparked back into life, Emily felt it the flutter of possibility. They were moving from uncertainty toward the tangible. But as the flurry of activity unfolded, a sense of unease crept back in. The figures she had seen earlier flitted through her mind like a shadow. Who were they? Why were they watching? Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking her concentration. A message flashed across the screen, a single image, grainy but unmistakable. A photo of the stolen food truck, abandoned on the edge of town, all too eerily close to their struggles. Emily's heart sank as she stared at the screen, the implications dawning on her. If they managed to get it back, they might just have a chance. But would they be able to bring it back in time, and would they be prepared for whatever else stood between them and their festival? The panic had settled into a heavy silence, with only the faint sounds of distant chatter and the rustling of leaves breaking the stillness. Emily stared at the photo again, feeling as if she were caught in a vice. The food truck, once a hopeful symbol of community, now stood abandoned and forgotten. What if they couldn't get it back? What if the festival never happened? Shaking her head, Emily snapped out of her spiral of doubts. She needed to act, needed to rally everyone once more. They didn't have time to waste. After texting Jake back about the photo, she lifted her head, gathering the remaining crowd around her once again. The urgency gripped her heart as she called out, "Okay, everyone. I need your attention." Curiosity piqued, they gathered back, some faces still shadowed with uncertainty but others lit with a determination that stirred her deeply. "There's a way we can get our food truck back. It's just a matter of acting fast, and showing we're not backing down," Emily urged, her voice steady yet fierce. "I have a plan. Let us go to the truck's location together." A man from the back of the crowd shouted, "But what if someone's watching? What if the thieves come back?" Emily felt the sharp jab of his words. Fear was creeping back into the air again. We can't let fear control us. We know our community, we've come together, and we can stick together. Besides, safety in numbers, right? She took another deep breath, praying her words would ignite a spark within them. Jake returned just in time, breathless, with a few names and offers of support he'd gathered on his calls. "I set up some volunteers to help with the food. Local families will bring stuff." "But did you see the photo?" "Yes," Emily replied, matching his urgency. "We need to get the truck back. Now. The longer we wait, the less hope we have." The crowd buzzed with anticipation, stirring in excitement and fear. Mia wandered close, sensing the tension. Emily knelt down to her daughter, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Sweetheart, we're gonna need your help too. You can cheer for everyone, and help me keep spirits high, okay?" Mia nodded with innocent confidence, her small hand gripping Emily's tightly. With a clearer plan forming, Emily led the way to a few cars that would take them toward the truck's last known location. Each mile felt like an eternity as they drove. Emily's heart pounded with anxious anticipation. What if the figure she'd seen earlier returned? The feeling of being watched was almost suffocating. As they reached the edge of town, the familiar sight of the dilapidated food truck came into view. Sandy-colored paint peeled in places, and weeds grew around its tires. But it was definitely the right one. "Look, there it is!" Jake shouted, excitement bubbling in his voice. But as they approached, unease sank back in. Something felt off. "Keep your eyes peeled," Emily whispered, scanning the surroundings. As they stepped out, adrenaline coursed through her veins. Shadows shifted behind nearby trees. The figure lingered again, hidden away but closer than before. "Guys, be careful," she warned, her voice barely above a whisper, drawing everyone's attention. "Something is not right." Then, just as she took a step forward to investigate, the shadows shifted into view, a man stepping out from behind the truck, hands raised in a surrender. "Hey! he stammered, glancing nervously at the group gathered. "I was supposed to come back for it." Emily's heart raced. Who was this guy? Was he here to help or hurt? As thoughts raced in her mind, she took a step closer, cautious yet resolute. "What do you mean? Who are you?" The man swallowed hard, his eyes darting around the group. "I can explain everything, but you need to trust me." Emily's gut tightened with uncertainty. She had to know the truth, but was trusting him a good idea? Emily's instinct screamed at her to back away. She glanced at Jake, his brow furrowed with suspicion, and the crowd was a mixture of curiosity and fear. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "All right," she said, her voice firm yet cautious. "If you want us to trust you, then start talking." The newcomer shifted uncomfortably, as if the weight of the eyes on him was too much to bear. "My name's Carl," he began, his voice trembling. "I found the food truck. I didn't steal it, I promise. I just thought I could help. It was abandoned, and I wanted to fix it up for the festival." A few skeptical murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Fix it up?" one voice echoed, dripping with disbelief. "You mean you took it?" "No!" Carl exclaimed, gesturing wildly. "I thought it was gone for good. But then I saw how much it meant to you all," and Emily stepped forward again, her heart racing. "How did you find it? And why didn't you come to us with this sooner? This is our community." Carl looked ashamed, his shoulders slumping slightly. "I didn't think anyone would want it back. I didn't know what to do. I was trying to make things right, realizing he was just a lost soul caught between good intentions and poor choices." Emily softened just a bit. "What do you mean by make things right?" "I wanted to fix it for you. I've been trying to gather supplies and I thought it would be a surprise for the festival," he stuttered, looking desperate for forgiveness. "I swear I wasn't trying to take it away from anyone." Jake stepped closer, skepticism still etched on his face. "Why should we believe you? You could have just driven it off and never looked back. If I wanted to run, I could have done that. But I came back." Carl's voice cracked, his face flushing with desperation. "I just wanted to help. You all have this amazing spirit, and I thought it could be a part of it." Mia, who had been watching with wide, innocent eyes, finally broke in. "You like food trucks? They're good, aren't they?" she asked, her small hands still clasped tightly in Emily's. Emily felt herself wavering. If this man was genuine, he might hold the key to saving the festival they all cared about. But there was still a lingering doubt. "What supplies do you have?" Emily asked, the tension in her voice growing thicker. It felt like a small leap of faith, but one worth taking if hope was on the horizon. "I can show you," Carl said, his excitement barely containing itself. "On my way over, I gathered materials from my own shop. If we work together, we can have the truck ready for the festival." The crowd began to murmur. Emily caught glimpses of skepticism turning into contemplation. Could they really trust him? But perhaps, just perhaps, they could turn this uncertainty into an opportunity. Jake kept his gaze fixed on Carl. "Let us see what you've got." Emily nodded, feeling her heart quicken again. Maybe Carl's intentions were genuinely good. Perhaps the festival could grow from the unexpected. As they approached the truck together, Carl led the way, pulling out a modest assortment of paint cans, tools, and even a few squeaky clean kitchen supplies. "It's not much, but I wanted to get started," he said, his eyes gleaming with a blend of hope and worry. Emily shared a look with Jake, the tension slightly easing. They needed a miracle, and maybe this was it. But just as they started discussing what needed to be fixed, the distant sounds of approaching sirens shattered the afternoon air, a stark reminder that trouble wasn't too far behind. Emily's heart raced up into her throat. "What's that?" she exclaimed, eyes darting back to Carl, who suddenly looked terrified. I think I know. I didn't mean for this to happen," he stammered, fear evident on his face. Before Emily could ask more, the sirens drew closer. "We need to go. Now!" she shouted, the urgency clear in her voice. As they prepared to flee, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something much larger was at play than a simple food truck theft. Did they have time to uncover the truth before it was too late? The sirens echoed ominously, drowning out the chatter of the crowd. People began to scatter, their faces painted with a mix of fear and confusion. Emily felt a surge of panic. She grabbed Mia's tiny hand, pulling her close. "Stay with us, Mia." Jake glanced back at Carl. His trust was still hanging at the edge of a precarious cliff. "What did you do, Carl?" he demanded, his voice low but sharp. "I swear, I didn't do anything wrong," Carl replied, his eyes darting in every direction. "I just wanted to fix the truck. I didn't know anyone was looking for it." Emily felt her heart sink. The urgency of the sirens grew louder, and time was slipping away. "We need to find shelter. If they're after you, they might think we're in on it," she said, pulling Mia and Jake toward the nearby alley. Carl hesitated, his hands trembling at his sides. "But the truck," he protested weakly. "Forget the truck for now. Your safety comes first," Jake urged. They darted around the corner just as a police car sped past, its lights flashing bright against the dimming sky. It was surreal, hiding from the very people sworn to protect them. Emily pressed her back against the cool brick wall, heart pounding in her chest. Mia whimpered softly, and Emily leaned down to comfort her. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're here. We just need to be quiet for a moment." Carl crouched beside them, still glancing around, eyes wide with fear. "Look, I didn't mean for any of this to happen," he said, voice low. "I only wanted to help." Emily studied his face. Was he really merely a misguided soul trying to make amends, or was there something more to this? "Why were the police looking for you?" she asked cautiously. Carl swallowed hard. "I didn't know they would react like this. I found the truck after it was reported stolen. I thought if I restored it, you'd all be grateful. Jake nearly shouted, but he quickly hushed himself, glancing back toward the street. "You put us all at risk, man." A silence hung thick in the air, interrupted only by the muffled sounds of the outside world. The urgency of the situation was tangible, each of them acutely aware that the slightest noise could tip the balance. "Maybe we can explain," Emily suggested tentatively, searching for a way to calm the storm around them. "If they're looking for you, maybe they don't see you as the villain." Carl shook his head vigorously. "You don't understand. They think I stole it. If they find me, I could go to jail." Emily felt the weight of that statement settle over her. Could he really be a victim of circumstance? The thought both scared and intrigued her. The festival, their cherished festival, was now tangled up in a mess that was spiraling out of control. "What if we just go back and explain?" Mia piped up, her voice small yet fierce. Emily smiled down at her, but the thought of returning only made her stomach churn. It felt reckless, but what other options did they have? "What do you think, Jake?" Jake hesitated, his brow furrowing with thought. "We barely trust this guy." Carl's expression shifted, a flicker of desperation crossing his face. "Please! I want to make this right. You can't let me face this alone." Before Emily could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed nearby. The sirens were fading, but they were far from safe. "We need to make a choice now," she whispered. The weight of the decision pressed down, and Emily knew whatever they chose would change everything. Would they stand up for a boy who was as lost as they were? The footsteps grew louder, and time was slipping away. Would they step into the chaos to uncover the truth, or turn their backs to protect themselves and the fragile hope of the festival? And more importantly, did they even truly understand what they were getting into? The footsteps halted just a few feet away, and Emily's breath caught in her throat. She strained to hear, every heartbeat reverberating in her ears like a drum. "Stay quiet," she whispered urgently, but her words were almost lost in the chaos outside. Outside the narrow alley, voices mingled with the fading sirens. "Over here!" a voice called, cutting through the tension like a knife. "We saw him go this way." Mia clutched Emily's leg, her small fingers trembling. Jake shot Emily a look, a shared understanding passing between them. They had to do something. But what? Carl's eyes widened in realization. "They're looking for me," he said, panic creeping into his voice. "What if they take you too? You shouldn't be here." "Stop," Jake retorted, his tone harsh but firm. "We're not leaving you behind. Not like this." Emily felt a rush of gratitude for Jake's resolve. "Think, Carl. If you really want to make this right, you need to trust us," she said, tension heavy in the air. "They won't see you as the bad guy if we can explain." Just then, a flashlight beam swept through the alley, briefly illuminating their hiding spot. Emily's heart dropped. "Run!" she whispered, urgency flooding her voice. They bolted deeper into the shadows just as the beam crossed again, narrowly missing them. Adrenaline surged through her as they moved swiftly, dodging discarded crates and overflowing garbage bins. They emerged onto a quieter street, but the threat still loomed around them, tension crackling like electricity in the dark. "Where do we go now?" Mia asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Somewhere safe," Emily replied, glancing at Carl, whose face was a mask of fear and desperation. "There has to be a way to help you." In that moment, Emily felt the weight of responsibility shift onto her shoulders. She wasn't just protecting her family. She was taking a stand for someone who seemed lost and scared. Did she know if he was truly innocent? No. But in that shadow, with the sirens continuing to wail in the distance, they were all on the same side of danger. "Carl, do you have any idea where you could go?" Jake asked, keeping a cautious eye on the streets around them. "There's an old garage a few blocks away that I sometimes visit. It's been abandoned for years. Maybe we can hide there until everything calms down." His voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping back in. Emily nodded, determination setting in. "Lead the way." They moved quickly, each step filled with trepidation. The streets were eerily quiet now, with only the occasional flash of lights from police cars cutting through the darkened corners. Upon arriving at the garage, the sight of the dilapidated structure made Emily's heart sink. Broken windows and rusty doors loomed like shadows, but it felt like their only option. "We can wait here," Jake suggested, pushing the door open with caution. It creaked in protest, but thankfully, no one was around to hear. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the scent of mildew clung to the walls. They huddled together in a corner, the faint sounds of the outside world filtering through the cracks. "This can't be happening," Carl murmured, sinking down against the wall. "I thought I could fix everything." Emily placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone. We're in this together, right?" As they sat in the dim light, an unusual silence fell, echoing their shared fears. Emily's mind raced. What were they really getting into? Outside the garage, the sound of footsteps grew closer again, stopping this time at the old entrance. "I swear, if we can't find him," a voice hissed. Panic hit Emily harder than the last. The decision weighed down on her. They could fight back, but what if they made it worse? Just as she thought they had found a moment of refuge, the reality of their situation rushed back in. The moments stretched out like shadows, leaving Emily wondering, would bravery lead them to safety or further into chaos? And would they be prepared for what lay ahead, regardless of their choices? The footsteps receded for a moment, and Emily held her breath, listening intently. The silence felt heavy, as if the world outside was holding its breath too. What if they come in here? Mia's voice trembled, exposing the raw fear that churned beneath her brave facade. Then we'll figure it out, Jake said, his voice steadying. We're smarter than them. Yet even he didn't sound completely convinced. Carl's eyes darted around the dimly lit garage. They'll find me, he whispered. This was a mistake. We should have just left me. He sank lower, the weight of despair radiating from him, a cold blanket that stifled hope. Emily couldn't let that happen. Stop it, Carl. Don't say that. You deserve a chance to explain yourself, she insisted, her voice firm. She hated seeing him sink into that black pit of hopelessness. We'll come up with a plan. What plan? Mia squeaked, clutching her brother's arm. Emily could feel the fragile thread of hope fraying at the edges. First, we keep our heads down, Jake said, leaning in closer to Emily. Then we figure out where those guys are and learn what they want. They can't just storm through every entry. We can use the shadows to our advantage. Use the shadows, Emily thought, grasping the idea. What they needed was to observe, to stay alert and listen. The world outside felt like a storm, swirling with uncertainty. If they could just hold on, perhaps they could navigate through it together. Suddenly, a distant voice carried through the air, sharp and fierce. He's in there. I can feel it. Emily's heart raced. It was like a warning bell, resonating in her chest. She exchanged worried glances with the others, the fear flooding back in. Jake shifted closer, blocking Mia's face from view, almost instinctively creating a barrier around them. Listen, he said, tilting his head to block the sounds outside. We need to find out if they're still looking. Someone has to peek out the door. I can't risk it while you're all here. What about you? Carl's voice cracked, fear and desperation lacing every word. What if they grab you? They won't, Jake replied, determination underlining each syllable. I've dealt with people like this before. Stay put. Wait, I'll go with you. Emily felt a surge of rebellion against her own fear. She wasn't about to let Jake charge into danger alone. No. You need to stay here, Jake insisted. It isn't worth it. Neither is leaving you to face this alone, she whispered, and although she felt the weight of risk in her words, something inside her lit up a fire fueled by the desire to protect them all. The door creaked once more as they pushed it slightly ajar, their hearts pounding in unison. The moon hung low in the sky, draping everything in silver and shadow. Ready? Jake whispered, attempting to keep his voice steady. Emily nodded. The silent understanding between them was electric. As they peeked outside, lights flickered on the road beyond. The cocoon of their refuge faded away, replaced by the swirling gray of uncertainty. What do we do now? Emily breathed, suddenly aware of the stakes rising around them. Now, we find out what they want, Jake replied, his voice hardened with resolve. But before they could formulate a plan, a sudden flash of movement caught Emily's eye. It was a police officer, scanning the street, flashlight sweeping low to high, a predator hunting prey. In that moment, the question loomed larger than ever. Could they protect Carl without putting themselves at risk? As they stood teetering on the brink of danger, a chilling realization struck Emily. They were no longer just solving problems. They were in a battle for lives. Would they be able to uncover the truth before it was too late? In the garage, silence reminded her of how fragile their hope was and how swiftly it could be lost. The air in the garage felt thick and heavy, as if every breath they took carried the weight of their choices. Emily glanced at Jake, their resolve hardening like steel. It was now or never. They could sit cowering in shadows, or they could face whatever danger awaited them head-on. Listen, we can't just wait anymore, Emily said, her voice steady but urgent. We need to protect Carl, and if that means stepping out into the light, then that's what we'll do. Jake nodded, feeling the heat of determination spread through him. He knew they were risking everything but couldn't shake the feeling that this was larger than them. It was about community, trust, and forgiveness. Okay, he said, his voice firm. We'll walk out together, no one left behind. But we stick to the shadows, and we stay close. Mia squeezed Emily's hand tighter, eyes wide. Are we really going to help him? What if they find us? Emily knelt to her level, brushing a tender hand across Mia's cheek. We're going to be brave together, sweetheart. Just like we talked about. With a heart full of love, she kissed Mia's forehead, giving her the strength only a mother could provide. Carl watched, his heart swelling with an unexpected warmth. He deserve their support or trust, yet here they were, facing unfathomable dangers together. It ignited a spark of hope in him, one he thought he had lost. He felt an intense gratitude toward Emily and Jake, despite the chaos that surrounded them. With every step they took toward the door, the outside world drew them in like a magnet. Heartbeats thundered in unison, a rhythm of courage blurring the lines between fear and resolve. Once they reached the doorway, Jake pushed it open just a crack, peeking out into the dark street. Clear, he whispered. Together, they slipped out cautiously, everything around them eerily silent. Time seemed to stretch, each second waited with anticipation. Emily caught sight of the police lights flickering in the distance too close for comfort. Let us move, she urged, her instincts kicking into high gear. They dashed across the street, ducking into the shadows behind parked cars and dumpsters. Unexpectedly, a figure stepped from the shadows, and Emily felt her heart leap into her throat. But it was only a neighbor from the community center, recognizing them through the darkness. Hey! They called, voice low but urgent. You all okay? With a brief nod, Jake put his finger over his lips to shush them. We need to help Carl. Can you spread the word, gather some support? The neighbor's eyes widened in understanding. You got it. We don't leave anyone behind. They turned, jogging into the night, ready to rally their community. With renewed energy, Emily and Jake guided Carl, staying low and moving fast. We need to get to that garage of yours to hide until it's safe, Emily urged. As they darted across town, mingled thoughts of uncertainty collided with courage. Emily's mind raced what other surprises awaited them. What would happen when the police found Carl? Would they be able to help him? Finally, reaching Carl's dilapidated garage, they first ensured it was clear before slipping inside. They could feel the overwhelming pulse of their hearts, now mixed with a singular desperation to protect not just themselves, but the essence of hope that had blossomed between them all. Let us hold steady until things clear up outside, Jake suggested, scanning the interior. It felt safer, a hidden realm amid swirling chaos. If we stay quiet, we can use this time to brainstorm a plan. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Emily shifted nervously, listening intently to the distant sounds of sirens fading away into the distance. What if they arrest Carl? What if they think he is the thief? We can't let that happen, she whispered, the raw vulnerability beneath her confident facade showing. No, Carl implored, eyes glistening with unshed tears. If they take me, it'll only make everything worse. I don't want to go to jail. Please. Sudden frustration bubbled in Emily. Here they had worked so hard, built a glimmer of connection, and now with one wrong turn, it felt like it could shatter. We can't abandon you, Carl. We believe in you, she said, her voice firm but soothing. And we're going to fight for you. Together. Just then, the door rattled, and their hearts raced in unison. The shadows lengthened ominously. Let me do the talking, Jake whispered, but Emily shook her head. No, we stand together, she insisted. Whatever happens, we face it as a team. The door creaked open with a loud groan, revealing another figure standing there, a police officer, flashlight aimed right at them. Step away from him. The officer shouted, authority spilling from every word. Frozen, it took a moment for Emily to respond. No! Wait! We can explain! She yelled, her heart pounding furiously. What are you doing here? The officer barked, taking in the situation quickly. The four of them jaggedly stood in defense, uncertainty swirling thick in the air. This isn't what it looks like, Jake shouted, stepping forward. We're just trying to help Carl. He found the food truck. I don't care what he found, the officer's brow furrowed, but Emily pressed on. Please! Can you listen? He just wanted to fix it because it matters to our community. The officer paused, glancing at Carl, who was still too scared to speak. This is about more than just a food truck, isn't it? Yeah, Carl finally piped up, though his voice quivered. It's about the pantry. It's about helping families survive. The officer's eyes softened. I understand that. But you put everyone in danger. I know, Carl admitted, tears welling up. I made a mistake, but I truly wanted to make it right. The air hung still, heavy with the weight of those words. For a moment, silence enveloped them like a thick fog. Emily's heart ached for Carl, knowing how hard it must be been to confront authority so openly. The officer's expression shifted gradually, realizing this was more than just a simple theft. I'll need to know what happened. There might be a way to sort this out, but Emily could sense uncertainty still swirling in the depths of the officer's eyes. Please, we have family in the community who are ready to support us. Just give us a chance to show you, she pleaded, the urgency racing through her veins. After a long, silent moment, the officer nodded. All right. Let us sit down, and I'll hear you out. Together, they crossed the threshold into a world holding their collective breaths, each of them entwined in a new story, one that intertwined hopes, redemption, and the courage to rise from the ashes of chaos. As they stepped into the light, Emily realized they could redefine their future, forge their paths together, no matter how uncertain things had seemed. Yes, there would be challenges ahead, but they were on the journey towards something greater than themselves. A shared commitment had connected them, and from this moment, hope would blossom once more. Emily breathed deep, and for the first time since their plight began, she felt a weight lift. They were going to fight for not just a food truck, but for a future filled with community, resilience, and the undeniable power of working together. The officer lowered the flashlight, and as the shadows faded, they realized their renewing strength was only just beginning. Born of their struggles and fueled by their collective bravery, everyone present had the chance to rise from the brink, ready to embrace whatever challenges awaited. The only question left lingered in the air: would they take the leap to build a brighter tomorrow? This was more than a simple food truck and pantry. It was the heartbeat of a community ready to thrive, and they were prepared to hand in hand bring the full weight of their determination to life. And that's when they collectively knew, hope was already blooming anew. Now, as you ponder this story of resilience and community cooperation, take a moment to reflect on what you just read. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will warm your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Believe me, it makes a world of difference. Comment down below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread this message of hope. Together, let us keep the fire of hope alive.